All right, Sid, welcome to Hard Money Monday. We are now live, man. I'm so glad to have you in here, taking a break from your day job to join me here and talk all about fix and flipping. So let me just put this out at a high level. Bro, we spoke on the phone like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, man. Um, before this year, I'd never done a fix and flip, and then I bought three of them. Bro, people don't do that, man. Like, how just I don't like just to rewind. What made you decide that you wanted to go and buy three of them? Did you get to January 1st and you were like, all right, man, I'm gonna go ahead and go crazy with this?
So this has a very frustrating story behind it, as foolish as it may sound. But the thing is, I started like wanting to get into real estate for quite a bit in my life, and
Right.
last October 2024, I mean 2023 is when I started learning about real estate, the other side and not the traditional side, right? And I
Yep.
was learning a lot about it. And I'm an analyst. I have a day job as an analyst, so I analyze a lot. So I have the analysis paralysis, right? As they call it. So I used to keep learning about real estate a lot on a day-to-day perspective, like every day. Like before work, after work, I'm like, okay, what is this? How do I get into it? How do I get
Yeah.
into it? And I met with a mentor. I spoke to him. Then I learned with him. I was shadowing him. And then after a period of time, it was 6 months down. I was so frustrated. I was like, when am I actually going to do something rather than
Yeah.
just speak and learn about it, right? And then I was like, boom, boom, boom. May, June, July. I got three. And I was like, and then in August is when I realized, oh, damn, I actually got three. And I was, what did I do now? But somehow it's been working out. Everything's going well. Touch wood till now. So yeah,
So
that's a
how,
funny story.
how did you bridge the gap on analysis paralysis to boom 3 months in a row buying three deals? Like you didn't buy the first one and you weren't like, all right, let me see how this fully unfolds and like get all the numbers afterwards and then do more deals from there. You had the confidence to know that your numbers were good.
Yes. So as bad as it may sound about analysis paralysis, but my day job has that's the only thing that my day job has actually helped with, because I do a lot of analysis and I'm a numbers guy. And if
Yep.
the numbers make sense, the deal makes sense. Like
Yep.
numbers are not gonna lie. So when I got the first deal and it was a foreclosure and I was looking into it, the numbers made sense, and there was no way for me to loosen that. So I
Got it.
was like, all right, at that point, it didn't make sense not to pull the trigger. And then later, from the same deal, the realtor that I was dealing with, he got me another deal. He was like,
Mm.
hey, you want to take a look into it? And that was a steal. And I just pulled the trigger. And the same thing with the third one, it was another foreclosure. And so what I do is I do a lot of active reach out to a lot of people in terms of
Yep.
like say wholesalers. I try to like network, of course. Networking, I'm not gonna beat you in that, but networking is definitely something solid that I believe is very essential for the growth of anyone in real estate. So I started to reach out to a lot of people. And when even though some deals don't go through, they reach back to you saying, hey, I got a deal. Maybe I remember you wanted something similar to this. Are you interested in that? And that's how I got the third one. And the guy, he reached out back and he was telling me about this deal, and then I liked it, and then I pulled the trigger. And I was almost ready for the fourth one the next month, but I was like, this is getting too much. Maybe let me like slow down a little bit and probably do the next one later. So
Dude, that's crazy, man, because the amount of people that I talk to that are pretty experienced and they just tell me, like, I had a conversation with them 4 months ago. I'm like, dude, I'm ready for my next fix and flip. I want to work with you. And then it's a month later. I'm like, yo, like, how's the deal search going? They're like, "Ah, I
yeah.
can't find anything. A month later, like, are you still trying to fix and flip or did you pivot? They're like, no, I'm still looking. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So I guess would you have any tips for people listening? For obviously you found three deals that you believe were kind of like the payoff versus the risk was just an obvious decision.
Yes.
What advice would you have outside of just generally building your network to get like these good deals in your inbox on a regular basis?
I would probably say at least a few things. First one would be definitely, if you aren't beginner, do not go and do it by yourself. This is not easy as it may sound. This is lucrative, but you still need guidance. So definitely JV with someone. That's something I would definitely suggest. That's number one. Number two would be make sure the numbers are right. The numbers don't lie. And if the numbers are right and you have a very slim chance of making out of it, do not pull the deal. And if you're thinking twice about the deal, do not pull the trigger.
Yes.
The only way that you actually go for it is you actually look at it and you find it really interesting and you still find the numbers, do the math. And if for a beginner, I would say I'm more a conservative investor than a person who goes all out. I believe like you definitely need to run the numbers. And if you have enough threshold for you not to face a loss, but the worst thing that can happen is breaking even, at that point pull the trigger. But before that, until like you are really good at investing and you're really into this business, do not go and risk, because when you start bad, then you end up probably being more conservative, or you might even stop doing the whole thing. And that's not how it is. If you have the right guidance, if you have the right numbers, you will always make it. And also, when you get in and get out, you always must have the due diligence done. Let it be the title, let it be how much work that needs to be done. Make sure before when you get it under contract, like reach out to a contractor, see how much it costs, make sure your numbers are right, like see how the title is, get the title done, like do a title check, there's no probate or anything like that. Do a due diligence, like anything, say a sinkhole, anything that might pop up, like any kind of what do you call, any kind of regulations that were not done. So in one of the houses that I was supposed to buy, they had a unit at the back that was not permitted by the city. And I knew that was going to come up when I sell it, because I'm going to go sell it to a traditional seller and not an investor, right? At that point, the bank comes into the picture. A lot of people come. So you got to be doing a lot of due diligence, because there are small things that might actually push your deal sale to a later date. And at that time, you don't know if the buyer would still be interested to buy that or not. So you got to have all the ducks lined up. So planning is very, very important.
Dude, to your point about if you have second guesses, it's kind of like dating a girl, man.
Yeah.
You go on a few dates. If you're not just like, yeah, this is it, I love this, don't move forward, dude. Because I've done the thing where it's like, it's not that bad. And then you just no. It's either a winner right away, and it's a winner. And I love what you brought up about basically worst case scenario, break even. That is a great piece of advice. If it's not that, then you move on. The second point that you made about basically doing your due diligence to mitigate risk, because you don't want to get caught holding the problem when you have holding costs. You have a certain time that you have to sell the property or refi the property by. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they cut corners on that. And usually it's because they think they have a really good time or a really good deal, and they're told they're on a really tight timeline. Like, hey, you have to close this in 5 days. Okay, fine, I won't do the survey. Okay, fine, I won't look into these permitting situations because it's such a good deal. It's like, dude, if you can't do your due diligence, drop it. It's not worth it. Nothing is worth a 3-day turnaround unless you have time to check the boxes. There's to your point, there's 100 other deals just waiting for you to have 3 to 4 weeks to actually do it the right way.
I definitely feel like some deals come across your way where you would be like, I cannot let this pass, but that's not the case. There is always a better deal, and there is always a deal on the market. You just have to go search for it. It's not that hard. You just have to do the effort. There's so many ways you can get deals. So it's not like you get a deal and you let it pass and you're actually going to feel bad. Rather than feeling bad, you can probably go and find another deal at the same time, because there's always a deal in the market. And that deal might make more sense than you thinking twice about taking the deal that you have. So,
dude, 100%. I do have a question too. Love what you'd mentioned about finding a mentor, somebody to help show you if a no-brainer is a no-brainer. When I did my first flip, I'll be honest, I was caught off guard when I got the settlement statement with a lot of the fees that I didn't know. Like right off the jump, there was an extra 10 grand in closing costs I hadn't accounted for. When you did your first one, were you pretty on the ball with what to expect, or were you surprised with any of the fees? Because honestly, there's just a ton of fees wrapped up in buying real estate.
Not really, because you could always ask the title company to give you an estimate on how much all the fees and everything would come up to. So you would already have a ballpark idea of what exactly it's going to look like. in terms of all the fees. So as long as you have that, and that basically what the estimate that they gave is what is coming through, unless there is a big difference, you don't really have to worry about it. So it was pretty straightforward for me. I was on top of everything that needed to be done. I was trying to be 2 steps ahead of everything. But then, the only hiccup that happened to one of my flips was because of the hurricane. The timeline probably got exceeded. It's going to extend for 2 more weeks than it was expected to be done. But the rest of the stuff for now, everything's in line.
Got it. And honestly, I kind of want to bring this back to you had originally mentioned just the frustration of being stuck in the education phase. And honestly, nobody likes feeling like the person who's a lot of talk and not a lot of action, right? What, like at a high level, why did you even decide that you wanted to fix and flip if you already have a good job?
So as far as having a good job, an IT job that pays well, I'm not really going to complain about it. But I also have to think like you can only leave a legacy, or you can probably be answerable to yourself only when you start something by yourself. It's a process wherein like you want to do something for yourself rather than someone else. That would probably motivate you. But again, it's something that's personal to me, that I feel like that's something I've always wanted to do in my life. So at that point, I was like, what is the way that I can probably go through? So I do have a few ideas outside real estate too that I actually want to pursue. I'm pursuing 2 of them. I'm still yet to pursue a few of them, but that's all under progress. But I still wanted something to start off with where I can probably get the initial capital for all my investments. And that's how I'm probably using my job right now.
Yeah. Well, I love that, man. One of the things that I tell people when they're interested in real estate, I say there's 3 ways to get into real estate. Way number 1 is you're someone like me. This is like my day job, dude. Like I get paychecks from it. I have to do a lot of deals to survive. Like I make a little bit on a lot of deals, a lot of transaction volume. So that's option number 1. I mean, you could be an agent, you could be a survey guy, an appraiser. Like there's a ton of ways to have a job in real estate. Way number 2 is I want to make additional income through real estate, and that's fix and flipping. And for some people, that's wholesaling. Dude, I know plenty of people who have jobs and literally double their income from part-time real estate. And they're not doing a bunch of transactions. They're doing a few transactions and making a lot on it. But fix and flipping is kind of a horrible full-time job because it's super irregular paydays. You don't know if all your capital that you were expecting to live off gets sucked into a deal. Like it's a horrible day job. And then option number 3 is investing for the long term, which is syndications, rentals, whatever. So I appreciate that you had that vision going into it. You knew exactly what you were looking to get out of it.
I am at a point where I'm just using this to get into real estate. By my goals would actually surprisingly would encircle all those 3 things that you were telling me, because eventually I want to get into private money lending, wherein I could probably leverage my lending best. So say like a hard money lender like you, like if you have a particular leverage that you give, like some people would still like to use the rest of the leverage to be covered by someone else. That's when OPM can be useful, right? So I would rather do some kind of gap lending, even probably syndication. That would be one way of doing it. And also having to do multiple ways. So as far as I'm finding deals and I'm getting rid of it that I don't want, I could at that point have them and wholesale it. So that's multiple streams in the same real estate. So that's a way of looking at it. People don't really have to think like, oh, okay, I'm doing real estate. Okay, I'm going to fix and flip. I can wholesale. No, you can do it all. Like you can do it all. All you need to do is know how to navigate each thing to its own path, and you'll be good.
Yeah, dude. And honestly, I think there's a lot of opportunity in that gap funding space. It's funny, Jordan just joined. He's also an EMIG, and I refer him loans all the time, dude, all the time. And it's funny because like the hot thing is like gator lending, which, dude, lending people money for EMDs I don't know. I don't even really want to get into it.
I get it.
But actually coming in is like not necessarily a second, but a private source of capital, JV partner, hop on the operating agreement, whatever, or just straight up funding. Like I send Jordan all the time stuff that's like, this is not hard money. This is meant to be private money all the way. It's great, dude. And I'm surprised very surprised. Like as a hard money lender, dude, it is a laydown if you want to be a private money guy to just build relationships with hard money lenders.
Yep.
You would get, I mean, you'd probably get a dozen good leads
Yep.
for free every single month for that.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that. So every time I also know, so there are a lot of people who actually want to like do private lending that maybe as a niche, but then the thing is they don't actually outreach other lenders. But actually having a good connection with other lenders would give you an option to JV. You can not only JV in fix and flips and wholesale, you can actually JV in lending too. But that's something people have to realize. And I definitely know that that's a way to do it too. So
yeah, well, it's like in wholesaling, everybody is all about the collaboration, not competition. But dude, lenders are not like that. And probably just honestly, a lot of lenders are, I don't know, a little bit less far down the scale in like entrepreneur versus W-2, right? A lot of them are more like traditional work. But dude, like AJ Weed, bro, we give each other referrals all the time. Austin Hughes, like, bro, we send each other referrals all the time. It's like, yeah, I mean, dude, I want people genuinely to get the best loan that they can. It's like, yeah, I can't provide that a lot of times. Let's share the love. So yeah, I love your perspective on that. To pivot a little bit too, I'm curious with like, dude, I did one flip and that was like my main job and I was running the whole project and that took up a ton of my time. How are you managing 3 while doing your job? And honestly, I mean, dude, you don't seem stressed to me. You seem pretty well.
Hey, I have a lot of things that's behind this face. I just can't show it out. But then it's about building the right team. So as I told you, I'm JVing with I have a partner. Like he basically mentored me. I was shadowing him, and now he basically partnered with me. And so we are basically sharing so we have a set of things that you're good at this, so do this. Yeah, I'm good at this. So we also have a good network of people who we work with. So it's easier to manage when you already know who you're working with around, let it be contractors, let it be things that needs to be get done. So as long as you have the relationship already set up, it's pretty straightforward. The only hiccups that might probably come through is when you need some kind of permits or anything like that, when you have to go out of the way to do something. That's when any kind of, say, postponing your event. And so say this Helene, I could not do anything about it. Say if there is another, say, regulation or anything permitting that I need, at that point, I will have to still postpone my flips in one way or the other. So outside these factors that I cannot control, everything else that we already planned to do with the flip was already in place before even the offer was dropped to get the house. So we had every duck lined up, like exit strategies, how to get in, who is going to be the contractor, who is going to do what's the interior designing. Everything was set up. That's why I told you, I analyzed a lot. So my planning is pretty insane when it comes to numbers and what I wanted to do. So that's why it kind of really helps for me to navigate through this process, because I've already, like, in my head, I know this is what needs to be done by this time. So it was a little bit easier for me because the planning for me was very useful at that time, and that kind of is coming into fruition right now.
So you're telling me you didn't wait to get a deal under contract to figure out who's going to be your contractor, open up an LLC? Man,
everything was
more people were like that, bro.
As I told you, like when you meet a lot of people, so I did a lot of learning in the first 6 months, like how you need to raise. So if you structure your LLC right, there's a lot of funding that you can get through it too. Like if you don't even have to wait till the last moment to drop an offer and then create you can probably start an LLC and then you can already get it structured. Then you can probably reach out to like lenders as you, like I can come in and I'll be like, hey, I have an LLC. This is what I need. So you would already give me a heads up on what exactly I would need for me to structure in terms of my profile. Every profile is different. My credit score is different. My experience is different. My market is different. So you're basically going to tell, hey, this is what I need. And at that point of time, I'll start working towards it and I'll have those things. So I had like everything, like in terms of lending, who I'm going to use, in terms of like contractors, who I'm going to use, what I'm going to use as an exit strategy. I even have a property manager ready if in case I'm going to go with like renting out any of it. So I'm like fully, everything was planned for me, because unless and until I do that, to be honest, I feel like I wouldn't have gone into this, because there would be still questions. And if I have questions, I would not do something.
Yeah. Dude, I love that. So how does somebody, like, what does the conversation look like when you're trying to find that JV partner? You're like, hey, I'm looking to get into my first deal. So I have zero experience basically, right? Like, would you be like willing to help me out with capital? How do you go about that conversation and like frame it successfully, and obviously make sure the person that you're doing business with too, like understands your situation and what you're going into?
I, mm, as a person, I'm a strong believer of making it as a group rather than an individual. So I pitch solutions to what they're currently facing. So say I want to JV
Mm,
with, I'm just telling you a random person, right? So say a random person, say his name is Jacob, and I want to deal with him and I want to do a JV with him. I would have a conversation with Jacob to understand where he is right now in
yep,
terms of what he wants to do. And then I will look at his what is his problem factors right now? Is this
yep,
the capital that's the problem? Does he need someone to manage the project? He's just tired. He needs a break. Anything, like that can be anything. He might be
yep,
like, yeah, I'm stuck with so many projects, I cannot handle it. I'd be like, okay, at that point you basically help them with their problems and what is not their strong points. And at
yep.
that point you just have to pitch in yourself in a way wherein you tell them, hey, this is what I can offer, this is how I can make your life
Mm,
easy, but I have certain things that I don't have, but you have it. So let's trade off at a point where we both benefit from each other and make our lives easy and both of us make money, man. Simple.
I love that, dude. I love that. That's beautiful, bro. That's why I knew you were a good fit for EIMG. That's that mindset right there,
Yeah,
bro.
that's a really good group too. Like everyone driven, everyone having the same goal. Although it's in real estate, but you see so many people talking about so much stuff. It's like it's so intriguing to know that when I actually do a lot of learning in terms of real estate in the first 6 months, there was so much things I learned. But when you come into a group or a community where everyone is doing the same thing, but actually you get into the community and know everyone is doing something different in the same community,
Mhm.
it gets really intriguing. You'll be like, wow, I'm learning a lot every time. So
Dude, I know. That's what I love. I love that it's a bunch of like experts in these little niches that
yep,
you didn't even know about.
yep.
And okay, so let's talk about, this is where you're at right now. I know you mentioned you got some different business plans that you're cooking up, thinking about, want to move forward and executing. We're almost into 2025. What's the plan for next year?
Uh, I want to eventually probably start not flipping as much as I'm doing right now, rather than getting more into the wholesale space, which I feel is a good space, because I feel like rather than doing one flip and waiting for those few months to get that, rather have those deals, because you're anyways having systems to get those deals. At
Yep.
that point, maybe leverage those systems to probably get into the next phase by wholesaling them, whichever you don't need, right? So that is something I'm really looking into. But probably my end goal with real estate is definitely commercial multifamily,
Yep.
commercial spaces. That's my end goal. So that's where I eventually want to traverse into. So I want to probably 6 months of paralysis analysis and I find a deal. I don't know. Let's hope something happens
Yeah.
2025.
The nice thing about starting in single family is, okay, you get so many reps at underwriting deals. You get a bunch of reps at, like, if you're taking stuff down, at handling
Yes.
the closing process, insurance process, actual reno. You get a bunch of reps talking to sellers. Like, single family is great because you just get a ton of reps,
Yep.
and you already know how to attract deals right into
Yep.
your ecosystem or go out and find them.
Yep.
And the nice thing is, dude, if you, like, when you make that pivot up into commercial, it's like, okay, guess what? I already have a ton of reps talking to sellers. I already know what it's like closing deals.
Yep.
I already know what it's like renovating a bunch. So now
Yep.
we just do it on a larger scale.
Yep.
And, hopefully you're able to stack up plenty of capital for it along the way.
Yep.
So that's
The good
awesome.
thing about the good thing about commercial is, as much as it sound like funny as it sounds, as I see a lot of transactions people who do around me, and I might be not like completely right about it too, but I also feel like getting the capital for commercial is way easier than racking the capital for like single family, because there will be a lot of people who are ready to syndicate with you on a deal because the kind of numbers in
Yeah.
multifamily and commercial, it's huge. So you definitely need a lot of people who wants to syndicate with you. And if the
Yep.
numbers make sense, I feel like people are ready to probably pitch in. But that's not the case with single family though. At that point, you are like in a small group or probably 1 or 2 or 3 people, and then you're trying to, run around. But with commercial, we're talking about a lot of investment in that. So we can see a lot of people, like even like little drops. So say if it's a 300,000, 50,000, 6 people interested, they can all be like LPs, and whoever is probably pitching in more, they can be the GP. So I feel like structuring is very, although it's complex, but investing in that is easy because people would be more willing to syndicate with you in terms of commercial spaces.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, dude, when you can say like, yeah, we have 20 other people already invested. Oh,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
that's just group thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, I'm glad you joined the group. Hopefully we get some deals done soon together. And then when you start wholesaling, I can also bring you some buyers potentially on the weekly deal drop. And so, yeah, man, it's awesome. Absolutely. I have a meeting that just started, so I'm going to have to let you go here. But this was awesome, man. This was a great time. And thank you so much for joining Hard Money Monday.
Definitely, man. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You got it.
All right.